Ladies and gentlemen, Mollusk here, and we're gonna talk about some more Guild Ball. So we have Skatha versus Pinvice once more. I've brought my standard team from the left. We've got Matagi, Snow, Skatha, Veteran Minx, Edge, and Jakar. And my opponent has got Spade, Colossus, Pinvice, Veteran Velocity, Locus, I believe, and Mainspring. So as I've talked about previously, my team is geared towards being extremely fast and presenting multiple goal-scoring threats, whilst also having enough mobile damage to hunt down squishy models, or at least punch back enable me to contest areas of the board. It looks to me like my opponent has opted to go a little bit more fighty this time. He's got Spade for the impossible to stop sort of movement shenanigans and goal scoring. Mainspring seems to be there for ball collection and making sure he can get the ball to his models that want it. Colossus seems to be a bit of a space taker. Tough Hide makes him really unappealing for me to try to take out without allocating a ton of resources to it. And his knockdowns and singled outs. And I imagine 2-inch melee are always useful. Locus has made a return from, I think he used it in the first game we played, and basically seems there to again be another Tough Hide model. I don't know if it's got reanimate, it might do, but yeah, just a little bit of a tough model to bring down, I think, and the main thing is that it's got some sort of ranged knockdown ability. Veteran Velocity is a new face, and it seems like where original Velocity is a goal-scoring striker machine, this one is more combat-oriented. So it seems like he's going for more of a robust squad this time, with Locus and Colossus acting as a sort of like support anvil, and Vet Velocity and Pinvice being the hammer. It strikes me that there's a bit of a mobility cost for this extra durability. I suppose the Colossus and Locus are definitely not very fast. I'm not sure about Veteran Velocity. I expect she's not as fast as the original, but probably isn't too bad. And Spade and Pinvice are probably fairly mobile. I think they also have like 3 close control models. Spade definitely has it, Pinvice I learnt has it, and I think Veteran Velocity also has it. So I find with hunters, and like particularly Skatha, that's the only captain I play, my team sort of rides a fine line in terms of its influence efficiency. And when you start knocking down my models, or making me have to tackle through close control, or have to kill models twice because of that damn reanimate, that really hurts, because until I start getting extra goal influence, I don't really have much to spare, as I tend to need every last influence to clinch the points from an activation. I thought my opponent's deployment was interesting. I don't think I've ever seen someone not put their models right up to the line, but we got Veteran Velocity and Mainspring hanging back, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not entirely sure what the plan was, but that influenced the way that I decided to kick. So my opponent won the roll-off. He decided he'd let me kick again. I've been able to kick against him, I think, every game, and Skatha ideally wants to be the kicker. If I had won, I was planning to try receiving, but I suspect my opponent wants to try to practice receiving against Skatha, and I believe Pinvice seems to want to receive generally. This is my card hand for the match. I guess thing to note is that I've only got 1-7, most of the other cards are quite low, so I suspect I'm not going to be winning the initiative very often, although I have been finding that I've been able to generate a momentum advantage in the last few times we've played this matchup, so we'll see. So because of the way my opponent deployed, I decided to kick out off to the side. I didn't get the perfect kick that I wanted, but the idea was to try to place the ball in such a way that meant my opponent actually couldn't retrieve it. I probably could have gone for a more risky angle, but I wanted to make sure that if my dice betrayed me, there was no way that it wouldn't go over the midline, and so just go straight to an enemy player of my opponent's choice. I believe a basic strategy when kicking is, especially when the enemy team has deployed in sort of like a lopsided manner, as the engineers have in this case, that you want to kick it towards the side with the main striker, the enemy team's main sort of like goal threat, so that they have reduced options for passing it to gain momentum and position before they go on their goal run. But in this case I thought, well, my opponent's not deployed on the line, Locus I know isn't very fast, Mainspring I'm hoping isn't too fast, so I'm trying to put the ball out where he can't get it. And the idea behind my deployment with Matagi on the left flank is that I see that's where his strikers are, and it's almost certain they'll be moving up pitch at some point this turn. Matagi's got decent range, and Bleed can do some hefty damage, so there's a good chance I can snag something and either generate momentum or damage in the first turn. And I put J-Car out on the other flank because that's where I'm kicking the ball, so something's going to have to move up and get it. And I sort of wanted to partner him with Edge a bit to like be a bit of a bodyguard for her and use her snare to help set him up and help him take out players more easily. I think this was a mistake. I think I like J-Car more centrally, actually, to be able to punish any sort of like aggressive movement or goal run attempt by beating on that player, getting a load of momentum, and then kind of like activating first in the next turn to kill them. So I think my deployment here is a bit of a mistake. If I'm kicking, J-Car being more central means it's harder for the enemy to deploy to avoid him, as I think what's happened in this case is me putting J-Car out on that far flank has sort of made my opponent shift his striking models over to the opposite side of the field, as J-Car's sort of main purpose is to be the counterpunch or the punishment for any model extending up to, say, go for a first turn goal run, as he can then pretty reliably do quite a bit of damage, generate quite a lot of momentum, try to win the initiative on the second turn, so that I can then take out that model. But anyway, back to how the game unfolded. The kick was okay, it wasn't perfect. In the end, Mainspring was able to get the ball, and Pinvice was able to pass it down the line using, I assume it's her legendary, getting the ball on Spade, and I can't get to it. Even for Skatha, that's too far. And then because I don't activate Skatha next because I can't reach the ball, she's got a load of influence on her. He does what I thought he was going to do. He moves up Locus and ranged knockdowns her, which is gonna be pretty bad. It's gonna be hard if I can't generate momentum. You know, he's out of range of her to get to him basically, so I'm gonna lose a lot of influence if I can't get her up somehow. So I do what I normally do. I move Snow up and give Skatha the anatomical, which gave Locust the opportunity to go knock her down. I move Minx up to set up a trap and like try to control the area of the pitch. I sprint Edge up and manage to get the snared on Locus. And what I'm hoping is that I can get J-Car into range, but it's probably not going to happen. As I was thinking to activate Skatha and put down a fast ground snowball kick to J-Car so that he could like dodge up and then be in range to get to Locus. But I quite quickly realised how influence inefficient that would have been. And I'm not able to do it unless I can somehow get her to stand up without using her movement. So basically Matagi comes in clutch, as he always does. He's able to sprint and just get in range of Locus to hit him with his little free attack. I hit the Momentous Harrier, generating momentum, putting Harrier on both Veteran Velocity and Locus. So crisis averted. Matagi continues to demonstrate why he is an auto-include in my team. So at the end of the turn, things look like this. Even with the fast ground that most of the engineers were standing on, my opponent wasn't able to get Spade into range to score the goal, and I decided to make use of Skatha's massive stack of 6 influence to make her go in on Locus. So she moves in and sort of like dodges around and hits him for damage in the Harrier. Bit of momentum, and I sacrifice the influence on J-Car just to move him across to threaten Spade, as I know he can kill Spade, and I know we have to kill Spade. So going into turn 2, we both play our 7s, and my opponent actually had one more momentum than I did because I took some non-momentous damage results on Skatha, just trying to do as much damage to Locus as I could and sort of like prep him as a takeout target. And it's just a shame that even with snared and Skatha having anatomical position, I just couldn't quite hit end of playbook to get results I wanted. Although looking at her card now, I probably should have taken the knockdown. I'm sure I would have hit that fairly early. Probably should have done that. Yeah, my opponent goes first, and to my surprise, he doesn't go and take the shot with Spade. He takes out Skatha. So Pinvice went in, I'm going to say, like last game, his dice spiked pretty good, so he got the knockdown on Skatha, and then sort of like accomplice into veteran velocity, and with all the crowd outs, they took her down. Good stuff. Was not expecting that. So J-Car went in and 8 spade. The ball bounced over everyone and ended up, I think, on pin vice in the end. Don't know if Locus like snapped and unsnapped it to her. And essentially I moved my models in to try to get the ball off her and committed a major sin, major mistake. So Edge, who barely had any influence, decided to go in and try to tackle pin vice, where I learnt that she has close control. She wasn't snared, so I couldn't have got like the tackle dodge out anyway, and walking in between into a little triangle like this is a big no-no. Don't ever do this, because what happens is, what my opponent does is he moved his little beetle thing in, and this is a trap, so there's no way Edge can get out now, unless Skatha comes in and puts her ground in that area and allows Edge to mirage out. But you know, like, generally there's no way out of this, and Edge is one of the squishiest models in the game, so I knew this would happen, and I don't know why I did it. Like, there was literally never going to be any benefit to it. Even if Pinvice didn't have close control and I tackled her, I'm sat with a squishy model, you know, with close control, great, but in this death trap, it's just never going to go well. What I should have done is moved Edge sort of around the outside of this combat. Maybe not even engaging, because my team's engages are really not very threatening. People can pretty happily just walk away from me as they like, and keep her on the outside of this so that next turn she can threaten to go in, get the tackles and the dodges and stuff, and threaten a steal, or stay in position where she's a goal scoring threat. So like, if say they manage to get the ball out of this, get a goal, when the goal bounces out, I want sort of like ball lanes down either side of the pitch, and Edge could be providing that potentially. Going in here is literally the worst thing I could possibly have done. So moving into turn 3, these are the cards we played. My opponent, I'm pretty sure my opponent had more momentum than me. I can't honestly remember who had more momentum. I would have thought it'd be close with both of us having a takeout and stuff. But these are the cards we played. I put weak point. I played the hit him where it hurts, and I put weak point on Locus just to make sure we could bring him down. I think my opponent healed him up to make him harder to get. So I'm pretty sure I went first, and I can't remember what happened here. If I didn't go with Minx first, I must be pretty high, because surely Minx should be able to tackle Pin Vice, dodge out, and score, right? Tackle, close control, tackle again, hit to dodge, walk into goal scoring range. Surely that's what I would have done. But I don't know if I like range tackle with Matagi, but I don't know how I'd get around the close control. I can't remember what happened here. But anyway, we got the ball off Pin Vice, and it seems to have ended up there by the engineer's goal. Pin Vice and Veteran Velocity easily killed Edge, and Veteran Velocity got over to the ball and then like tried to, I guess my opponent was trying to protect it, where he snapped it and then unsnapped it like behind himself, which means that and behind his goal line, so which means he can't generate momentum. So when J-Car went in and murdered Locus, my opponent then couldn't generate any momentum from hitting Snow with Colossus. So I get the idea where he only just had enough influence to get Velocity to the ball and couldn't really get it away. But I think you just keep it on Velocity, right? Because that at least forces me to try to make the tackle, and then you've got the counter attack and that sort of thing. In any case, these are, I think, the positions at the end of the turn, going into the next turn, with the score being 4-all. So because my opponent wasn't able to generate any momentum, I won the initiative, which meant that Skatha had the opportunity to go get a goal. This was a bit of a 50-50. So because Veteran Velocity has unsnapped the ball, if I can get to the ball, then we'll have a roll-off, and basically it's going to come down to luck. And that's sort of how I play. So Skatha goes first. She legendaries to sort of like guarantee the dodges I need to get into range, etc. Dodges round out of mainspring's engagement, uses her fast ground to... I couldn't run all the way around the right side of the goal. I had to run through into Velocity's engagement hit her to get a double dodge around to get into range of the ball. We rolled off and my dice prevailed, so Skatha snapped the ball and tapped in the goal, making the score 8-4, and the ball got kicked out way up the pitch. An easy counter goal on the table for the Engineers, but because I'm on 8 points, they've got to be very careful, because if they score, the ball comes out to me, and I get the ball and win. I can get the goal and win the game, right? My positioning here isn't great. I'm very, very pushed up into my opponent's half with almost all my models. Edge is coming back on the right side of the field, which could potentially give me a ball, sort of like a ball lane towards the goal. But that's going to be reliant on a decent kind of kick-out scatter, and then it's going to be pretty tight to be able to get to range. I would either have to try to use Mitagi as a snapshot target, which I've placed within his kick range of the goal, or try to take the ball well out wide. I'm pretty sure Pinvice could still get to edge, but maybe she wouldn't be able to get the ball back in play, and I can sort of like mob her and take the ball run from there. But yeah, it's a bit dicey, to be honest. I'm not a fan of my position here. I've sort of clumped up too much with the intention of fighting and haven't left myself a great network for a return goal. So yes, I think my positioning is a bit messy. It doesn't help that I've been forgetting to use Back to the Shadows on J-Car, which could have helped me quite a bit in this regard. So what happens? Well, I think I tried to start setting up Pinvice for death with Minx and Mitagi, and she slips away out of my Harrier, looking to try to help take out Skatha. Snow goes down after a heroic battle with Colossus, which triggers my loved creature, which I forget about, even though I try to remind myself by putting my Blood Scent token on J-Car, but yeah, can only do so much, and we end up with a massive scrum around this around the Engineer goal, where Pinvice is sort of like on the opposite side of that big drill bit. You can't quite see her. J-Car has pursued her, and I think, yeah, we took her to her reanimate last turn. Mitagi had her bleeding, but reanimate removes conditions, so she survived. And then sort of like going into this next turn, we've now got to get through reanimate again, which is annoying because I believe the extra dice from Blood Scent would have probably been enough for me to kill Pinvice, because she was snared and gut and strung, etc. So that was a silly oversight by me. So we go into the next turn, and I'm pretty sure I win the initiative. I go with Skatha. Skatha kills Pinvice. Locust goes and knocks Skatha down, and then Veteran Velocity. I forget what I go with next. But Veteran Velocity basically push dodges Skatha off the table. I think I made a mistake here. I played the card that gives people my teammates poised when they're on the enemy side of the pitch, and would have spent momentum anyway on counter-attacking to try to dodge out of Velocity. So for multiple reasons, this was a mistake, because Skatha is knocked down. Skatha is not a squaddy, so Skatha could not make this counterattack. I should have declared that, because I knew he was going to try to push dodge her off. I should have declared that after his first attack. So forgetting that I couldn't in fact make that move, I then got a double dodge, and because it was on the other side of the table, I couldn't really reach or see very well. There was also a trap that was sort of blocking where Skatha could position. I basically didn't dodge her far enough away from the edge of the table, and Veteran Velocity just walked up, push dodged her off, and got the takeout anyway. So all good. But I shouldn't have been able to make that counterattack with Skatha anyway, and I did it at sort of the wrong time in the sequence, and I wasn't careful enough in terms of making sure she was out of range of the edge of the pitch. So yeah, even if something is hard to reach and difficult to see from your perspective, I should take that care. I think my clock was really running close to the bone at this point, so I was a bit rushed as well. But yeah, pretty bad by me. So Engineers are now on 7 points, and Spade is over here lurking, just waiting to tap this goal in as soon as... Basically, my opponent, I'm sure, is waiting for me to clock out, give him the point, and so he can then just end the game. Yeah, so things are real close. Hunters at 10 points, Engineers at 7, and basically if I can't win in the next 2 or 3 moves, the Engineers will win. Luckily, JCar is MVP Beast, as usual, and just walks over and push dodges Velocity off the pitch, scoring me my 12 points. And sort of that's how things looked at the end of the game. So I clocked out after JCar's activation, so my opponent would have then been on 8 points, and I think that was the end. It was nearly the end of the turn anyway. So yeah, so basically my opponent would have only needed to generate 1 momentum and then activate Spade and score the goal to win. There's very little I could have done to stop that. I mean, I guess Skatha could have come in and tackled the ball away from Spade potentially and tried to get it away from him, her. I'm not actually sure what it is, but things would have been pretty desperate at that point. So yeah, really good game, really close game. I made tons of mistakes. I forgot about loads of rules in terms of like the weak point armor and loved creature from snow, and made some critical, game losing positioning errors with Edge and Skatha, and we were lucky to squeak the win in spite of that. I found my opponents seem a bit tougher this time round, especially as they seem to be able to do a bit more damage, take a bit more of a hit. Ultimately, the feeling I take away from this game is a bit of worry that my Hunter squad is supposed to be a 3-goal win team. Basically, that's the plan. Like, any kills I get along the way are really with the intention of creating space and pressuring the opponent rather than sort of like being part of the main strategy to win. But here we've got a game where we've got like 2 teams that should be quite football focused, and 1 goal was scored. So what these games have tended to be is a bit of an ugly punch-up between 2 teams that neither of whom are really very good at it. So I'm a bit concerned that I'm not setting up the opportunities I need to get that intended, clean, goal-focused game, and that I'm really going to struggle when it comes to facing teams that outfight me. I also noticed my playstyle is pretty reckless actually. Like, I've got a bit of a reckless streak, which maybe comes a bit with the territory of trying to play for goals. I think that is a bit more of a dice-reliant, high-risk, high-reward approach to the game. But even so, in doing things like my activation with Skatha where she scored the goal, which was literally gambling the game on a 50-50 dice roll-off, which decided the game and, basically won me the game this time. But in the long run, it's going to hurt my gameplay consistency and limit my chances of reliably getting wins. But yeah, that was the game. Lots of fun. Many thanks to my opponent. And I leave you, I guess, with my biggest mistake, I feel, of the game, which is taking the frickin' Falconer's goalpost as my goalpost instead of my normal trap. Because, damn, I knocked this thing over so many times reaching across the table. So yeah, that's going to be hard retired, and I'm going to go back to my my pit trap or whatever it is going forward. So I hope you found that interesting. Take care.